great things that we have going on at USDA and especially at AMS, being able to talk to y'all and organizations like yours who are helping us connect to and communicate with and collaborate with all our stakeholders is really important as we're trying to figure out how we want to transform the food system. So I'm going to do a bit of a presentation. I have the unenviable job of trying to tell you in about 20 minutes all the stuff that we have going on, but I'll try to show some slides that might help get this a little bit, give it some context. And of course, Juliana can answer a ton of questions, but let me just get us started. So give me 1 second. I think somebody's going to tell me if I've clicked on the right thing. Okay. I think this is sharing. So somebody stop me if you don't see the screen, but for those of y'all who are new to USDA, but I think a lot of you do know us, I'll do a very quick, I am part of the marketing and regulatory programs mission area. And the Agricultural Marketing Service is one of the agencies within us. And so AMS is part of the wide USDA ecosystem, but here's a bunch of the things that AMS does. We serve as a funder. So there is a grants division at AMS that oversees 14 different grant programs, including a bunch that do focus on local and regional food systems. We're also a food buyer through our commodity procurement program and purchase food in to benefit school lunch programs and food banks, things like that. AMS is also a convener for networks and collaborators who are both working internally and externally across local and regional food systems. For example, we had the local and regional food response to COVID, which worked with 3 universities and 16 communities of practice to coordinate and develop a project to support local and regional food systems as they were responding to the pandemic. We're also a technical assistance provider. We share learnings from the research that we do and with grantees and with farmers market managers and other stakeholders, all in a form that's digestible, as well as providing other kinds of TA that I'll talk about a little bit later. And also, provide research and data through cooperative agreements that we have with universities and nonprofits. To, again, support local and regional food systems and some of the common challenges that they may be facing. So just as an example, very close to home, the Regional Food Policy Council Project is a cooperative agreement that we've got with the Ohio State University, with Johns Hopkins Center for a Livable Future, and Colorado State University to better understand the role of food policy councils in strengthening regional food systems. So just one small example. As far as data providing, we do have local food directories that are free to the public and for businesses to list themselves. And we've also got the AMS LAMP Navigator, which is an interactive online map where you can see all of AMS's grant programs from our local agriculture market program. So that's just in a very quick nutshell what all we do at AMS. But I want to take a step back and talk about the broader work that we're doing at USDA to transform the food system, because I think, as everybody here knows, we saw through the pandemic that we have a very brittle food system, and that there's a lot of work that we need to do to make it more resilient so that we don't go back to what we had before, but we are able to move forward, rebuild and transform our food system into one that is more resilient and that is stronger and able to weather, whatever the next crisis that we might hit, whether it be a climate related, hopefully not another pandemic, but, all of those kinds of potential problems. And through the American Rescue Plan, USDA received $4 billion to address and make our food system more resilient. And so we have been working on how we look at and address all of the different parts of the supply chain, from production to processing to food aggregation and distribution, all the way to our consumers, and do build in that resiliency into it as we move forward. And the way that we've been thinking about this is that we really do want to achieve several key goals as we're doing this food systems transformation work. We want to deliver a better deal for farmers, ranchers, growers, consumers, as they have access to more new and better markets. We want to make it easier to adapt to and mitigate the effects of severe consequences of a changing climate. We want to improve the health of our communities by increasing access to healthy local grown foods. We want to make sure that equity is built into all of the pieces of this new food system. And local and regional food systems and strengthening them and expanding them really is a major pillar of the work that we're doing in food systems transformation. AMS is obviously leading a big part of that. We have Juliana, who is our local and regional food system specialist, and helping pull together a working group all across USDA to address these issues. And also we're working to break down all of the different silos that we have at USDA. And so we're putting together programs that really cross almost every mission area at USDA. I think it's got maybe 8 or 9 different agencies that are involved. We're looking at over 60 different programs that we have either created or were existing ones that we were, adding more funding to, things like that. So I want to just quickly go through some of the different programs we have in each of these areas, and then kind of answer more questions, because we have, like I said, we have a lot going on, so it would take up all the time to go through each one. But I'll hit some of the highlights, and then really direct you to the best resources for y'all to keep track of all the things we have going on. So under food production, we really were focusing here on programs that help producers access markets and capture a fair share of the food dollar while supporting sustainable practices, because we do know that there's a lot of barriers to entry. And so what we want to do is make sure that we have options for farmers to process locally, sell locally, and really adopt their practices that are good for the business and for climate. So under this kind of heading, we've got a bunch of these different programs. We're working on grant programs around urban agriculture and helping support more of that and expanding it. There's a cost share program for food safety. There's a relief program for funding for food and farm workers who were really at the front lines of the pandemic. And then a big initiative, a $300 million initiative around the organic transition, because we do know that it is a really, there are a lot of barriers, financial and otherwise, for farmers that want to transition from conventional to organic practices. And so there's a lot of things that we have around, supporting with cost share on certification. There's also crop insurance support that we're providing. We're looking at doing some work around really helping make sure that there's a market there for the farmers, the organic farmers that are want to go into this area. And then a farmer to farmer mentoring program. This last one, the Transition to Organic Partnership Program. That's $100 million 5-year initiative to support farmers transitioning across the 6 regions in the US. So we have a lot of partners here, as you can see. There's organic certifiers, there's farm service organizations, educational institutions, state departments of ag. And the partners are all going to work with producers on the ground in their communities to provide farmer-to-farmer mentoring, to provide technical assistance, community development, workforce development, and also data and reporting. And so we hope that, through this program, we can really help producers who are organic producers and transitioning producers overcome any technical, cultural, or market shifts during this transition period, and support human capital. Under processing. So, one of the things that we heard a lot during all the stakeholder work that we're doing at the beginning of this is that, if you look at our supply chain, it really looks like an hourglass figure where in the middle, processing, aggregation, distribution is really constricted, really consolidated. And so what we want to do is, put a lot of effort towards expanding the middle of that supply chain out. And so we do that through building more distributed and local processing capacity, um, and really, making sure that we have that resilience built into our food system, and that we can also provide consumers with more opportunities and options, and then really, build out and create more opportunities in rural communities. So there's a lot of programs, a lot of funding that we've put into processing. One of them is around meat and poultry processing. I'm sure a lot of you know that we do have a lot of consolidation and concentration in meat and poultry processing. And so the secretary and the president really wanted to emphasize that we need to grow out independent, local, diversified processing capacity here. So just last week, Rural Development, one of our sister mission areas, announced more than $230 million in awards through 3 different programs that really are serving to support and expand meat and poultry processing capacity. We have the grant program, Meat and Poultry Processing Expansion Program. There's an intermediary lending program so that lenders can get funds and they can make loans out to support these kinds of businesses. And then a loan guarantee program. So USDA, helping make loans a little bit less risky by guaranteeing them. So you'll see that, just this first phase that we have a nice wide geography here, lots of different species that we're looking at as we're trying to expand this capacity. And a lot are small and very small facilities that we are supporting. And this was just the first phase. There'll be a second phase coming soon, so stay tuned for that. But this is, and I think this graphic may even be missing a Wisconsin one that we that the secretary announced a couple of weeks ago too. But in addition to this, AMS also had a meat and poultry processing inspection readiness grant program to help that gave, I think, 278 different projects and just help those facilities that are trying to become and operate as either federally inspected or state inspected facilities. And I think we even had a few in Ohio that we awarded. In addition to all of this, there's also work that we're doing to help support workforce development and research and innovation in meat and poultry processing specifically. On top of all of that, we know that technical assistance is a really important part of this. It is really hard to navigate the USDA and the federal grant application, and as well as just like, some folks need some help figuring out what is a business plan and how to set up some of these facilities. And so we put $25 million towards this TA program. And what we have is a network, and it's led by the Flower Hill Institute, but we have a network of TA providers who across the US will provide technical assistance to facilities on how to navigate the federal grant process, on how to, address your business and financial planning needs or market intelligence, things like that, on advice and resources to support operational needs like workforce development, and also how to develop and maintain a successful supply chain or marketing relationships. And so all of this, we know that hundreds of folks have already signed up and gotten some support from these TA providers, but this is something that is available to folks and continues to be. So we're really excited to be able to provide this kind of support. We also have the Dairy Business Innovation Initiatives, and they support regional dairy businesses as they're developing, producing, marketing, and distributing their dairy products. And they provide both TA and grants to the dairy businesses that receive that, that direct technical assistance through the one of the dairy business initiatives. And so you'll see we have 4 that around the country that provide this support. And then on top of all of this, we are also working on a $500 million program to support non-meat and poultry processing, because we know that, again, all of that is quite constricted, and there's the need to expand on the infrastructure in our supply chain for processing. And so we are in the development of that. So please stay tuned as we hopefully will roll that out soon. Grant program for non-meat and poultry processing. So under aggregation and distribution, it is also really important for us to have the right infrastructure in the right places to gather, to move, and to store food. And that's all really an important part of building resiliency into our supply chain. And so we want to shorten that supply chain from the farm to the fork. And then we'll have more income opportunities for producers, and again, more options for consumers to purchase locally produced products. So there's a lot that we have going on here, and this is where a lot of our local and regional programs reside. So let me go through some of those for you. This may be familiar to you. The Local Agriculture Market Program, or LAMP, is really an umbrella program. There are 4 grant programs that fall within them. 3 of them are here at AMS: the Farmers Market Promotion Program, Local Food Promotion Program, and then the Regional Food System Partnership Program. And then there's a value-added producer grant that's over at the Rural Development Mission Area too, that also falls under LAMP. But really, these programs are meant to help expand and strengthen opportunities for local and regional food producers. And we use some of the funding from the American Rescue Plan to really emphasize that we want to help local producers sell into institutions, local institutions like universities and hospitals and other settings that are operated by local or tribal or state governments. I think an important part of helping us, keep and build the economy, and the president, talks about we want to rebuild our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. And so really supporting local food through these programs is one of the ways that we're doing that. We did a first round of this expanded financing for the LAMP programs for LFPP and RFSP. And there'll be a second round with this augmented funding coming soon as well. So stay tuned for that. In addition, another sister agency, the Food Nutrition Service, has this farm to school state formula grant program where they are, really using these funds to support state agencies in their efforts to coordinate and provide technical assistance and help really increase the capacity of schools to be able to procure and use local foods in their programs, and then to also provide agricultural education for the kids at the schools. Another very cool new program at AMS is the purchasing of local food. So we initially put $400 million towards a local food purchase assistance program, and the secretary recently added another $500 million to that. And then a $200 million for local food for schools. But really what these are cooperative agreements that we've signed with states to give them funding so that they can purchase purchase food from local, regional, and underserved farmers and ranchers, and then provide those foods either to local food assistance programs like food banks under LFPA or to the local schools under LFS. We've already signed 50 agreements under LFPA, including in Ohio, and are just getting underway with the LFS programs and starting to roll out announcements of those. But I think these are really exciting because it really is, again, getting the money, right there on the ground and making sure we're supporting the local economy through buying from local farmers and then helping the community there. We're also really excited about the regional food business centers. This is really what we think is a big need there. And it's really to help small and mid-sized producers and food businesses access more and better markets as we grow all these markets out for them. And so we have these food business centers that are going to provide both coordination, they're going to provide technical assistance, they're going to provide capacity building in in their local regions to small and mid-sized food and farm businesses, and really focusing again on processing, distribution, aggregation, and market access challenges. So we're going to be funding at least 6 regional centers. One of them are including one that's going to be a national tribal center, and then at least one center serving the Colonias, serving the high needs of Appalachia, and then one for the Delta and Southeast needs. And again, these centers are going to be acting as a regional hub that's coordinating across both the geographic area with USDA and with other regional food business centers. They're going to provide TA to these producers and food businesses, especially around business needs and also how to facilitate linkages throughout the supply chain. And then they're also going to have the ability to provide grants up to $100,000 to support projects that are focused on emerging regional needs and businesses. Say, as somebody's working with the center to work on a business plan, and then they come up with a great plan, then they can use these funds then to actually start growing their project out. So this one we're very excited about. We put $400 million towards this program, and really think that we want to strengthen these connections between your small businesses and producers with the rest of the community. So this is open right now. We're looking for organizations and partnerships that are going to run these food business centers. The application, we just extended the deadline, so the applications are due December 15th. And we have a lot of information on both the request for applications this keeps moving by itself. The request for application, we have FAQs that are in English, Spanish, and Hmong. And we also have open office hours every Wednesday at 4 p.m. through December 14th. And it's a great opportunity to just talk to the AMS team about what they're looking for, but also, hear about other organizations that are looking at this opportunity. So please do check that out and look for that. Okay, so last but not least are the market and consumer end of the supply chain. And so this is an area where we're really focused on nutrition assistance goals and ensuring that everyone has access to affordable and nutritious food, and that, as we're supporting these new and expanded markets. And so we've put $370 million to funding different nutrition assistance programs. We're supporting healthy food retail through the Healthy Food Financing Initiative. I think we upped the funding to that to like $135 million, which is a lot. That they haven't had before, and also on the nutritional quality of school meals. So that's through some of these healthy food incentive programs, things like that. And so, some of these are open, some of these are coming, and there's just a lot that we have going on. So this is kind of like a super quick snapshot of all the programs that I ran through super fast here. The ones in red are the ones that AMS is running. And then we've got other ones, again, that I mentioned, like rural development, food and nutrition service are running some of these programs. I'm gonna take a breath, and you're gonna ask me, well, how in the world was I supposed to keep track of all of the stuff that you just ran through? So I'm gonna highlight, most importantly, is this top website, the www.usda.gov/Build Back Better. That one is where we are tracking all of the different programs that we've got, what's open, what's closing, what's been awarded, what's pending awards. You can always go there to see the latest on what's happening and then help you navigate to the different parts of the programs that we've got. We also have a great fact sheet that puts together all of the USDA programs that do support local food supply chain, not just American Rescue Plan programs, but all of them. And then the local and regional foods division has their own website here. So hopefully maybe Juliana or somebody can put these links into the chat if y'all want to click on those really quickly. But I think those are your best resources. So I will stop sharing there. And I'll mention one more website that's not on there, but if you are interested in all of the meat work, the USDA.gov/meat also consolidates all of the different meat and poultry processing programs that we have, including some of the work we're doing on competition and regulations around that too. So we have a lot going on. I threw a lot at y'all, but I just want to thank you for your time and really thank you for all the work that you're doing out to help support our local and regional businesses and food systems out there. Okay, I'll take a breath and see if do we have time to take questions, or Amanda, let me know what to do.
We have time to take questions. Do you and your team have, a few minutes to do Q&A still or no?
I think we can.
Awesome. All right. So I want to apologize, everyone. I think the chat was temporarily disabled in the beginning of the webinar, and I had to figure out how to undo that. So chat box is open, but there were some questions that came in. They were answered, and I'm not sure if, I don't think the attendees can see the answers. So the first one was, what is the potential for USDA restoring to 75% or expanding 50 to 100% of the organic cost share? I don't know if I botched that, Rachel. I think there might be a typo. Asking those who can provide America's most critical soil health practices to pay for the privilege is counteractive to environmental and economic sustainability. And Juliana responded and said, currently there is $100 million available to agricultural producers and handlers through the organic certification and transition cost share program. Certified operators may receive up to 50% of their certification costs paid during the program year, at most $500 per certification scope. The Deputy Undersecretary can address your specific question more. So I don't know, Deputy Undersecretary, if you wanted to add to Juliana's response, or if that sort of covered that organic cost share question.
Yeah, and it's something that I was just thinking about the other day, and I don't know the answer to your question right now, but I do know that is something that has come up before. So understand the need and there. So I don't have an answer for you today, but I will take it back to the team and we can talk about it.
The next question was just whether or not the presentation will be shared. Juliana confirmed there will be a PDF made available, so that one's good. The next question was, what about alternative protein for meats? I don't know if they wanted to maybe see if you had any comments on that.
I don't know. What do you mean? What about them?
That was like I submitted. It was said, what about alternative protein for meats? Any funding?
Well, so like I said, we are working on our non-meat and poultry processing program. So that is something that's still under development, and I think it's pretty open. Like basically we want to expand that kind of processing capacity for everything that's not meat and poultry related. So to the extent that there may be programs or there may be projects that would fall under that, then obviously we'll take those into consideration if people apply for the funding there.
Awesome. All right, I'm skimming through the chat. Someone asked for a link to the application. Juliana did link the Regional Food Business Center's website there with the RFA.
Great. Yeah.
Looking through, I think one more message. How would you recommend smaller organizations navigate USDA grant processes and reporting, as it can be cumbersome?
Yes, we are well aware of that, and that is something that we are trying to address, because on the one hand, we do want to make it not quite so difficult and cumbersome, and we know that there's a lot of reporting requirements, but also keeping in mind that this is taxpayer funding, and so we also want to be good stewards of the funds. And so we've been trying to balance the two needs there, but we're trying to at least make some of our smaller grant programs maybe a little more easy to navigate. But also, like I said, we have all of these technical assistance providers, if it's meat and poultry related, but then these regional food business centers can also help provide that support for smaller organizations to navigate. But also, especially for our underserved communities, we have a project right now with the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, and then Florida A&M to specifically look at some of the barriers that there are to accessing our programs for those communities. And so that's something that we're looking into to see if there are things that we can do to help lower those barriers. But I also want to, just put our AMS team out there. They're a great team and we are always ready to help. And so, reach out, Juliana, I'll put you on the spot since you're the one on this call, but, you should reach out and to USDA and get them to help you as needed. There she is.
I'll put my email address in the chat just so everyone knows that was a real offer.
Thanks, Juliana.
And so one more question came in. I think we're probably coming up towards the end of the time frame, but given the importance of nutrition education, what support does USDA offer or plan to offer in addition to procurement and garden support through Farm to School? Is there support for in-classroom curriculum?
Well, so the Farm to School program is over at the Food Nutrition Service. So I'm not sure I can totally answer that question unless, Juliana, you know a little bit more about what they have going on there and can maybe talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I can just speak really briefly to it since I am located at AMS. But as May mentioned earlier, the FNS has a 60 million non-competitive state agency farm to school formula grant. And while that really is focused on procurement and helping state agencies have the capacity to work with school food authorities to bring more product in, there is also an educational component to it. So it can help them. There's no plans in place for a defined, or one size fits all curricula, but that funding really can help states support schools in developing those types of curricula that's needed for their community as well.
Thanks, Juliana.
All right, I would encourage anyone, if you have a last minute question, to go ahead and either pop that in the Q&A box or the chat box. And so what we'll do is this is a recorded webinar, so we will get this out to the network. And I'll also go on the back end of Zoom and make sure everyone who registered also gets it via email. And then we will pull out some of those links as well as the PDF to the presentation that was given today. And I'll include Juliana's contact information for those who may want to follow up with her. And she just put another link in the chat box for some of the farm to school related grant information. So I don't think we have anything else that came in. I do want to just again say thank you to the Deputy Undersecretary for taking time out of your schedule to spend the afternoon with us and give us some information on some really great programs that Ohioans and others on the call can use for their work. So everyone else can join me as well in the chat box by saying thank you to Deputy Undersecretary. And I hope everybody has a great day. This information will be out soon. And again, thank you. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.